As we come on the air, this is the scene in South Minneapolis right now. Hundreds of people still gathered peacefully as the sun sets on a day city leaders said they feared would come. Just hours ago, a 37-year-old woman was shot and killed by an ICE agent on the city's south side. This is video of that shooting that sparked a massive law enforcement presence, along with a protest that has lasted throughout the day. At times, those protests became intense. In the last 15 minutes, we confirmed the identity of the woman who was shot and killed this morning. Her name is Renee Nicole Good. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Julie Nelson.
And I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. This all happening just 24 hours after hundreds of additional ICE agents, investigators, and Border Patrol agents ramped up enforcement here in Minnesota. And tonight there are two very different perceptions about what happened. That reaction is part of our team coverage tonight. We're also going to take you live to a news conference with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, as well as a vigil that is underway for the victim. And we will walk you through several videos from several different angles and different speeds of the video.
But we begin at the scene where this all started this morning near 34th and Portland Avenue South. Gordon Severson was among the first people on the scene, and he leads us off tonight to explain what led to this moment. Gordon?
Yeah, this whole area behind me here was blocked off by police up until just a few hours ago. And you can see the crowd here has gathered around the area where this woman was shot and killed here this morning. That is where we saw a burgundy-colored SUV that crashed into a light pole. And you could see there was a bullet hole in the windshield on the driver's side. Both federal and city officials say that the woman was shot during a federal ICE operation. But there are different views when it comes to what led up to this shooting, with federal officials claiming the woman tried to ram her vehicle into federal agents. City leaders like Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey dispute those claims based on the video that they are seeing. We spoke with a woman who lives nearby who argues the woman was trying to get away from federal agents when she was killed.
As I was leaving, I heard honking and a lot of honking and a lot of yelling. I live in the other side of this alleyway over here, so I ran down the alley. As soon as I got to the end of the alley, I heard two gunshots and a car crash, a really hard car crash, and then I heard yelling. And the next thing you know, I got in my car, I came out here, and I came through here with nothing but ICE agents.
Now, over the last couple of hours, the protest here has been peaceful and mostly quiet. Earlier today, we did see some tear gas that was deployed at times by police to clear the crowds. We also saw some protesters throwing snowballs and ice chunks at police. The crowd here behind me here is actually much bigger than it was when police were here this morning and this afternoon, but it has shifted. It's a very different tone here than it was this morning.
All right. Thank you, Gordon. Well, we're all seeing a lot of video tonight showing the moments leading up to and immediately following the shooting. Sammy Selena has been combing through those for us and continues our team coverage tonight. Sammy?
Yeah, Julie, we're about to play video of this deadly shooting from two different angles. There's strong language in it, so we cut out the audio but left the sounds of the gunshots. This angle posted to social media shows agents repeatedly telling the driver to get out of the car. The driver then backs up, and as soon as she drives forward, you hear 3 shots fired. A federal agent reholsters his gun as the red SUV loses control and crashes into another vehicle. Another angle shows the driver waving her arm as a vehicle passes. Another car pulls up and more officers get out. They approach her vehicle and repeatedly tell her to get out of the car. They pull on her door. She backs up, then starts to drive forward. Shame! Shame! That's when an officer fires his weapon and you hear 3 gunshots. This is that same video in slow motion where the officer near the front bumper of the car fires his weapon. We've been reviewing video of the aftermath of that incident as well. What we haven't seen a lot of is video of the moments leading up to everything you just saw. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Sammy.
A vigil is underway right now for the victim of today's shooting. Again, her name is Renee Nicole Good. We've confirmed that with family members. This is a live look at the vigil where the shooting took place. You can see there are still a lot of people gathered there at the moment.
All right, the vigil going on right now. At the same time, we are waiting for Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to hold a press conference about what happened here today in Minneapolis. She has already spoken about this. She was in Texas earlier today and had claimed that this was an incident of domestic terrorism. Again, all of this is very early going and details are still coming out. We are waiting for her to take the podium. As soon as she does, we will bring you her press conference live.
We'll also have a full recap, of course, of the story coming up at 6 o'clock. But first, we want to tell you about President Trump, who is also weighing in on this shooting on social media. The president says he has seen video of what happened, calling it a horrible thing to watch. The president says, quote, the situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. As you can imagine, reaction from the local and state level pouring in right now. We did hear from Governor Walz this afternoon, as well as Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, who both contradict Homeland Security's perspective. Our political reporter, Danny Spiewak, has been following that story. Joins us now with the latest on that. Danny?
Rena, Walz and Frey have both blamed the federal government for surging ICE into the community in the Twin Cities, and they accused ICE of creating the conditions that they say led to the deadly shooting. Governor Walz today also accused the Trump administration of crafting a narrative about the events before the full investigation had played out.
This happened a couple of hours ago, and we're already pitting American against American. All of you saw a video in your eyes. We have a chaotic situation caused by the largest deployment in American history of federal agents.
Governor Walz urged calm, but said he has the Minnesota National Guard on standby if needed. He also said that the state would not welcome any federal mobilization into Minnesota. Meanwhile, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey took an even harsher tone toward the Trump administration today.
To ICE, get the f*** out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara also addressed the public today alongside the mayor. He shared Frey's concerns about the ICE presence in the city and the circumstances around the shooting, but notably he did not make any statements about whether in his mind the shooting was justified. He didn't weigh in on that aspect of it. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Danny. Well, as many law enforcement tried to leave the scene today, emotions, of course, boiled over.
Joe McCoy joins us live with a closer look at the immediate aftermath of today's shooting, as well as what the governor said he's doing to prepare for any mass protests tonight. Joe?
Yeah, hello, guys. Right after 2 p.m., that is when Minneapolis PD removed the barricades that were at the scene. Those barricades went up there for about 3 hours. 2 p.m. Minneapolis PD just said they want to leave the scene. They take down those barricades. This is video here of what ensued after that. Protesters started flooding the streets. They were throwing ice and snowballs at officers, and then things even turned a little bit more violent as people were kicking police cars, and eventually someone threw an object that smashed a side window of one of the police vehicles. Then after that, protesters marched for blocks throughout the streets of Minneapolis. We did talk to Councilmember Jason Chavez on scene. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I mean, there's a federal invasion of our neighbors with immigration enforcement happening across South Minneapolis and across our state, where ICE officials are just so excited to tear our families, our neighbors, our loved ones apart.
Now, Governor Walz has called up mobile units of the State Patrol to try to ensure that everything remains peaceful. And as Danny just mentioned, he also has the Minnesota National Guard on standby tonight, Julie.
All right. We'll be watching, of course, throughout the night. Thank you, Joe.
All day, of course, we've been hearing from the community about this dramatic escalation and use of deadly force. Ian Russell spent the day speaking with witnesses, shares their stories with us now. Ian?
Yeah, Reno, there was a large crowd at the intersection of 34th and Portland for hours this morning into the afternoon, and it was tense as these incidents between demonstrators and federal immigration enforcement came to a head. There were several chemical crowd deterrents that were sprayed, as you can see in this video here, as ICE agents attempted to leave the area. Now, in between those tense moments, multiple people told me they were just sad that something like this happened in their neighborhood, and sad that a woman is dead tonight. One man says he was pepper sprayed by ICE agents this morning and shared those sentiments we heard.
I have actually observed the car that the victim was in. I have seen the headrest had blood stains and then the bullet hole through the window. So it's disturbing to actually see that, how someone actually's life was taken, the very moment it was taken, it's literally displayed on, on the public road. So it's very sad. My heart goes out to her family and everyone and her loved ones as well.
Now, there were several moments where the crowd sort of shifted. There were reports of ICE agents in other areas near the street where this happened in Minneapolis, but as we saw, the bulk of the crowd stayed near that intersection of 34th and Portland throughout the day, a tense, emotional day in that area and in the city.
Well, like leaders have called for, if we can keep things calm, it of course makes everything safer on our city streets. So let's hope that stays that way tonight. All right, Ian, thank you.
Well, several of Minnesota's congressional lawmakers are weighing in on the shooting, and their reactions differ depending on which side of the aisle they're on. In a statement, Senator Amy Klobuchar said in part, "We need full transparency and an investigation of what happened. And I am deeply concerned that statements made by DHS do not appear to reflect video evidence and on-the-ground accounts." On the other side of the aisle, U.S. Representative Tom Emmer posted on X saying, "Shame on the elected officials who endanger these agents by spewing lies and hateful rhetoric." In another post, he calls the governor and Minneapolis mayor cowards, saying they're inciting violence to distract from their own failures. As we continue to follow these reactions, a lot of questions are also surfacing about the use of force policy within the Department of Homeland Security. Lauren Lemanchek joins us now with a deeper look at that. Lauren?
Well, Julie, the DHS policy says deadly force should not be used solely to prevent a suspect from fleeing unless that person poses an imminent threat of death or injury. That's a key point here. I ran multiple angles of this video by 3 use of force experts today. 2 of them said at first glance, this does not look justified, but a third said it very well may be. Dr. Roy Taylor, a former police chief and use of force trainer, says deadly force was not reasonable.
And this ICE agent put himself in the path of the vehicle. He drew his pistol before the vehicle even started moving, and as soon as it started moving, he fired and then stepped aside and fired 2 more times.
Jeff Noble, a former deputy police chief, points out officers are trained to avoid deadly force, especially when they aren't dealing with someone wanted for a violent crime.
What the officer should have done is taken a step to his right or a couple steps to his right to get out of the way.
But Ed Obayashi, a deputy sheriff and use of force expert, says officers have to make split-second decisions.
I believe that the officer may have a reasonable justification for firing his weapon under the factors that I have analyzed.
Yes, you can see there's disagreement there even from multiple experts. But one thing each of them stressed to me, it is too early in the investigation for anyone to know all of the facts. And that includes DHS and Minneapolis officials who we know all very plainly shared their take on this today. Julie and Rena.
Right. Thanks so much, Lauren. Let's take another live look from Sky 11 at the vigil happening at the scene of the shooting this morning. Right now, the crowd has been growing. It's large but peaceful. They're gathered on Portland Avenue South. We'll have live updates throughout this half hour, and at 6 and 10, we'll be keeping an eye on the vigil and have much more as this story develops.